How likely is it for a McKinsey applicant to pass Solve? Short answer, 1 in 3. But don't take my word for granted yet. If you want to become a management consultant, you need to do better than that. For one, McKinsey closely guards this number, and it's virtually certain that they don't have a fixed pass rate for any part in their recruitment process anyway. So we're going to do this like a McKinsey consultant, like someone who would pass a case interview. We're going to gather a few clues, perform estimations, and triangulate the numbers. And then I'll let you in on a little secret of how much this pass rate can be increased through proper preparation materials and techniques. First, if you look this up on Google, most sites will tell you that the pass rate should be somewhere around 30%. These are all unofficial estimates, but given that there's no official number, this is about as good as we can get for a starting point. Now let's zoom out and see the bigger picture. The McKinsey recruitment process consists of 3 rounds: resume, solve, and interview. So the overall pass rate at McKinsey can be calculated using this formula on the screen. Okay, I'm sorry for having you do math on YouTube, but bear with me. Now, if you do a little switcheroo with this formula, you know you can estimate the pass rate at the solve round if you know the overall pass rate plus all the other rounds. Let's start with the overall pass rate, that is, the chance of one applicant to pass every step and become a McKinsey consultant. Landing a coveted consulting gig at McKinsey is like winning the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. The offer rate, a meager 3%. By the way, this 3% isn't evenly distributed. Graduates from target universities, say an Ivy League business school, might enjoy a pass rate of up to 4 or 5%. For the rest, non-target ones, then 1 or 2%. And then there are variations between programs and offices as well. But for now, let's make do with the average. The resume pass rate these days is actually very high, perhaps around 90%. The first resume screen is now more "are you legit" check than anything else. So people who get filtered out at this stage are the ones with badly formatted resumes, or maybe they're outside the age bracket for the program, or maybe they are still within that notorious 1 to 2 year ban from their last rejection. Ouch. Nowadays, with Solve, nearly everything is cheaper, scalable. McKinsey can invite any candidate with a slight chance of fitting in. Candidates can do the test at home, and once they've done it, all the results will be automatically analyzed and neatly organized by the system. Next, we take into account the commonly estimated pass rate for 2 rounds of interviews, which is about 1 in 10 or 10%. How do we have this number? At McKinsey, they have 2 rounds of interviews, which I call the manager round, and the partner round after the rank of the interviewers. Each round has 2 interviews, and the way this often works is that you must do well in both manager interviews to get to the partner ones. The manager round tends to let through only 25%, while the second is more like a fit check, with a much higher passing rate, perhaps 40%, give or take. 25% multiplied by 40% equals 10%. That's the pass rate for all the interviews combined. Now we do the math, and the solve round checks out at 33.33%, or 1 in 3. To further prove this hypothesis, we have a clue from McKinsey itself. We know that McKinsey uses quartiles to benchmark their candidates after Solve and split them into 4 quarters. Why? Because McKinsey explicitly says that on their Solve FAQ sheet. I hypothesize that these quartiles are used as reference points in the same manner that most big firms do nowadays. More specifically, above the upper quartile, you're almost guaranteed an interview. Between that upper quartile and the middle quartile, then you may get an interview. And below the middle quartile, you will almost certainly get a try again next year letter. Now, if we place our previous estimate at 33.33% on this chart, we can see that it cuts right down between the upper and middle quartile. While this does not really prove anything, it's safe to say that the clues are all pointing in the same 1 in 3 pass rate. But this number is before we start to take into account preparation. With a job worth $100,000 on the line, people will find many ways to get themselves ahead, even if McKinsey says you don't have to prepare, which honestly just feels like a lost cause. Of the 101 customers who reported on their Solve test result back to us in 2022, 71 claimed to have completed all of the objectives. How many of them passed? 48. That's a pass rate of 68%, or double the average. What about the remaining 30 people? Well, only 9 of them passed. That's exactly 30%, near the average we estimated earlier. What we can deduce from this is that going in Solve unprepared is like boxing with one hand tied behind your back. So of course, here's the part where I sell our product, the McKinsey Solve Simulation, which is an accurate simulation of the 2024 version of McKinsey Solve with dozens of possible scenarios for each test for you to practice to your heart's liking. I highly recommend buying it 2 weeks before the test if you can afford the price. But if you don't, we still have plenty of free materials for you to look into, and we will continue to release more, so you can click like, subscribe to our channel, and join our community on the website to keep yourself up to date on the latest changes in consulting recruitment. Get yourself prepared, and you can make it to consulting.